Guessing we all saw what happened in America, right?
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, them.
yeah, I think it was the night before. A group of like really dedicated Trump supporters, or white people, as some people might like to call them, uh,
Like,
Terrorists. Domestic
yeah,
terrorists.
domestic.
domestic terrorists. I mean, yeah, I guess you can call them that.
No, yes.
Literal
Yes,
term.
do you know how much?
Literal
Do you know?
term.
Do you know entering the federal building is a criminal offense?
Exactly. They are domestic terrorists. They need to be called for what they are. Domestic terrorists. Not
And so, what do you guys think about that then? Because, like, for some reason, people keep comparing it to the Black Lives Matter thing.
yeah, I don't think it should be. I can see why
Yeah.
it was at the beginning, and even I was like, oh well, if these were black people, I mean, like, because the security outside the Congress building during BLM was so different compared to obviously what happened the other night. So at first, I can see the sort of urge to compare it to BLM, but it's completely different.
Mm.
Black people are protesting to not be killed, for their rights to be protected, and these guys are protesting because they lost.
Or they can't accept that they lost.
Yeah, they can't accept that they lost. So yeah, I don't think it should be compared because they're two very different things, very different causes.
They're protesting because Donald J. Trump told them to do so.
Wait, how did he tell them to do so?
He sent a tweet, like his first tweet, right?
Well, no, not only did he make tweets, he made an announcement urging them on. You have to read between the lines.
Yeah.
He says it, but he doesn't say it. You see what I mean?
Okay, but I'm more interested in what he actually said than what he implied.
Yeah, he's been talking about how the election was frauded for like months and months. You know,
Yeah.
constantly telling the American public that the civil democracy is in danger. Constantly telling them and urging them on, like, this is your democracy is in danger, X, Y, Z. So what do you think they did? They literally did what they think is best for them to do: storm the Capitol building and take back their democracy. That is what they were shouting at. And they did what is perfect for them to do, i.e., go to where the democracy and law, the Senate House, and take it over, take back their democracy. And that is what they feel. They felt threatened by the fact that, you know, the words of our democracy have been stolen. And this is normal.
I mean,
I don't know why everyone is surprised. This happens almost this happens almost every single century in American life, whereby a group of white people will be egged on by the leader or cult-like hero to go and commit acts of violence. They've they've been doing it since the inception of America.
I think COVID is definitely amplifying a lot of these behaviors, because it's like everyone wants to, like, I don't know if it's boredom or if it's like a fear of death or something, like, oh yeah, it's almost the end of the world, so like F it, let me just do something, let me go out there, let me fight for my freedom, let me fight for democracy. Like, and the interesting thing is, like, most of these Trump supporters are like conspiracists. Like,
yeah, did you see that one of them was wearing a top saying camp outfits?
What?
Yeah,
no.
these are white supremacists. They're white supremacists. That's what they need to be called for.
Wait, these are American. Oh my lord!
One of them was wearing camp outfits, and then one of them was wearing 6WM. I did 6WE or something, which I didn't understand. No, 6ME, something like that. And it was basically 6 million wasn't enough, as in the 6 million people that died, 6 million Jews that died. It was like basically like 6MWE or something like that, and that's basically what it stands for. I was like, Jesus, these are like proper like neo-Nazis. These are white supremacists. They're like the extreme of the extreme out there protesting. Well, they call it a protest.
Also,
But,
isn't that also a sign of how like Americans? It's not just they don't know their own history. Clearly, they also don't know history. Full stop.
oh no, they don't. Yeah, they don't.
It's like what?
I know.
Yeah,
They're still sort of lingering, like clinging on to that whole chant of like "Make America Great Again," like that whole mantra.
well, that's their main mantra, right? That's what's on the
Yeah.
red cap, right? The
Yeah,
MAGA cap.
they were all still wearing the cap, weren't they?
Yeah, and some of them had like the Q anon shirts on as
Did
well.
you see the guy with the costume?
Yeah.
The guy with the Viking costume, like
It's so stupid.
that was so. It was. I mean, it was surreal. Like I could not believe that was actually happening.
I think the great thing was though that they didn't manage to touch any of the votes, like the electoral ballots, whatever. Were
Which I don't understand. Like, what were they trying to achieve, really? Because yeah, they didn't manage to touch that. So I'm guessing the point was they were trying to delay the decision, right?
Yeah, because they got what they wanted. It did get delayed for a bit.
Yeah, for like how long? Like for a couple of hours, though.
Yeah, a couple of hours. Yeah.
And then the thing is, their argument was like, "Oh no, we wanted to like do that or like something else, whatever." Some of those people were trying to nick stuff from the White House.
No, some of them they did. That's all I pictures of people like the podium and stuff.
Yeah, the statues and everything.
Yeah.
It's funny because I bet you those same people that just took them were the same ones that were moaning about like all the looting that was going on during Black Lives Matter, when there was like fires were set and all this. I bet they're the same people that were complaining about that are out there now looting stuff from the building.
Well, that's the thing. Like, of course, because like they're on the other side of like it's two different ideologies, right? Like it's the right versus the left or whatever. Because isn't this what caused the last civil war as well in America? Like, was it the North saying like they should free the slaves, and then the South saying no, we still want slaves, and then they had a fight.
Maybe.
Like that's
probably. I'm not very like I don't know the details.
Yeah, like I say that sounds that lines up with the American.
I hope someone corrects me if I'm wrong, but that's my understanding of it.
Yeah, it was the North that wanted.
I think you're right. Yeah.
No, it was the North that wanted to free. South was like, yeah, we kind of like these.
That's
another thing.
Go on, Carl.
I'm pretty sure it's down south that's quite racist, right?
Yeah, I think another, like you said, like this is just getting escalated because of the time we're in now. I think a constant sense of like tribalism, like conceptually, like people are like they're not taught like nuance or like is it Overton window? Someone's good at philosophy. One of you can do that. And like how everyone just sees left, right, good, bad. It's like let's use the UK, Conservative, Labour, because let's face it, the other parties are relevant, but like it's literally one side or the other.
Yeah.
And it's like these things are not simple. These things are not left.
Yeah.
Well, that's sorry. Finish your point.
And then I think that's what's like escalating. So that's why there's so much shenanigans happening apart from COVID instead of 2020 and potentially 2021, because people are like so amped up, and because they're being amped up by either choosing a side and it's like a football. It's like almost football team-ish kind of chance. Yes, I'm not dashing football necessarily, but like it's that kind of mindset that people don't really struggle. They don't forward think anymore. Of like, hold up.
I think that's the media as well to blame. The media filters out so many different things, and like media's not. People talk about the free press and all this. The press isn't free. Like you just you only need to look at who owns it. I mean, I don't know about America, but I'm guessing it's very similar to the UK, if not worse. In the UK, it's mainly owned by white middle-aged, like white billionaires who are probably right-wing. So I'm guessing that's a similar sort of situation going on in America as well, if not worse. So
yeah, that's true. Like media does play a huge role on this as well, and definitely does like, because obviously like it depends as well what type of media you expose yourself to, because there is like there's media that only has a bias on the left and media that has a bias on the right, or conservative labor over here. So of course, if you're only consuming labor media, all you know about the other side is all the terrible things you've heard, and vice versa as well, right? And like just hopping onto your point, Kyle, like I think people don't have, I think it's laziness, you know. I think people don't really want to think about like, oh, maybe like, am I wrong about this? Or like maybe, oh yeah, maybe if I talk to this person without having already decided, like, oh yeah, like I've heard about people like you, so whatever you say is like, you know, it's it's already biased by, you know, these preconceived notions or things that I've heard about you, right? So whatever you say is just, it's colored in a color I really don't want to see, for lack of a better metaphor. You know what I mean? So like, I think we definitely need to try. It's gonna sound so cliche, but yeah, we need to try to understand each other, and also like, you know, use some more brain power to just like try to understand like
I just think we need to
other
talk
people
about
are complex. You know what I mean?
We actually need to talk about race more. That's what it comes down to. We don't talk about it.
What do you mean by that?
We need to talk about race and ethnicity and racial inequality more. We see it as like an uncomfortable topic, or like, oh, they said the race word, oh, this is all about that again. Like, and I feel like we need to actually have an open and honest conversation about it, and actually talk about our experiences properly. I think that's the only way if we're gonna move forward, that's the only way. And instead of seeing it as a topic that's uncomfortable or whatever, I think if we're not able to openly talk about it, we're never going to solve it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point.
And I think that's a large part of that is on the ethnic majority, so white people and other people who aren't black. And I think a lot of the responsibility lies on them, because it's usually white people that find it uncomfortable to talk about. So
why?
And plus the work of eradicating racism isn't on black people. It should be on white people and other people, because I know like ethnic minorities in general, like people of color in general, are disadvantaged, but there are certain advantages, and there are particular experiences that, for example, I as a brown person would have that a black person won't have. I mean, colorism is a massive thing that exists in Asian culture as well.
Yep.
Like the whole obsession with like fairness and all that. So, you know, there's
whitening therapy.
Yeah, exactly. There's certain privileges that I have as a brown woman that a black person won't have. So I think it's being able to have those open conversations, recognizing each other's experiences and each other's privileges and disadvantages. That's the only way we're going to get through it, I think.
I think we're already talking about it now. It's just that we're not really having any productive conversations about it.
But I think we're only talking about it because we feel like we have to, because of everything that's happened, and that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. So like now I feel like we don't really have a choice but to address the issue. But how do we do that though? How do we actually have productive conversations about this?
I think it starts off with just like putting aside all your biases that you have, putting aside all the things you think you know, and just like entering that sort of conversation with an open mind. I think that's the only way you're going to be productive about it, because if you've got a preconceived opinion of what a certain ethnicity or a certain group of people, you're never really going to, I just don't think you're going to really come to anything, because you're already set in your ways. So I
Is
think
that
that
on
would be
is that on both
productive.
sides? Or
Yeah, both sides. Both sides, I think, probably more towards ethnic majorities, so like white people. But I'd say it's both sides because you want to come together. I understand that sometimes it is hard for white people to swallow as well, to hear all the bad things that they've done and the privilege that they have because of their ancestors or whatever. I understand it can be overwhelming for them to hear. Um, so yeah, I get what you mean. Like it needs to be both sides because we also need to be careful because some people like they're not personally to blame for what's happening. They don't. Some people genuinely aren't aware of their privileges, and I think there's a way you have to go about that conversation rather than saying you are privileged and I am disadvantaged because of our skin color and all this. Especially if they're not aware of it, I think that conversation isn't going to go down very well.
Yeah, but on that, sorry.
That's it. Yeah, that's all I was going to say. Really.
I'm gonna say on that same line, like yeah, I, it just depends really on like how, because some people are gonna get defensive saying, oh no, like I didn't personally do that. Like while everyone's like, oh, I like my ancestors didn't, or like they'll say their ancestors didn't. It's like, oh yeah, mine. It's kind of like people get immediately defensive because they think you're necessarily talking about them specifically, or like you're projecting on them.
Yeah, people
Which
take
is
it personally.
yeah, it's like no, like it's not you, but like you are part of that group. I'm not saying it's you
Yeah.
again. It's not you, but like it's you have to kind of. It's sad that we have to take into account their feelings, but like yeah, I guess it's people will receive it in different ways. Some people are like, yeah, I know I am from my sister may have like like definitely did this that, and but it's one of the things that you have to kind of gauge how people respond. Some people are open, it's like, yeah, I know my ancestor, like I do truly apologize for that, and like just tell me what I can do to help. Some people like maybe they have the best intentions, but depending on if you smack them with a hammer straight away, they might get defensive.
Yeah. I think it also boils down to the way history has been taught as well. Like our curriculum is very Eurocentric and very whitewashed. So
Yeah.
you don't really hear about the true extent of everything. And it glorifies like the British Empire and like like it doesn't actually go into everything that like what do you even learn about the British Empire? You don't actually learn about all the like how they fucked over Africa and India. You don't really hear about that much. It's all about like the great British Empire and like Henry VIII and all that, but they don't actually teach you about colonialism. So I feel like it's the way history's been taught as well, and I think the history's deliberately been taught in that way because I feel like they don't want that guilt to be associated.
Yeah.
That's
like maybe
that's an interesting point. Let me just pause you on that and kind of do a bit of a rewind to the conversation that we need to have about like race with other white people, right? So let's say you're having a conversation with a person and then you point out their privilege, and then like you said, like some people don't really recognize their privilege or even if they have any privilege. So you're like, oh yeah, you have this privilege, and then you're like, oh yeah, your ancestors did this and that, and then the guy or the woman says, what are you talking about? I am Russian. You know what I mean? So is it like just assuming like, oh yeah, because they've got white skin, then they're obviously related to, you know, the British and the Arabs and the Portuguese? You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think we need to. I don't know if it's gonna be like radical empathy or like radical listening, but it just has to. It has to be some kind of radical. Whatever it is, it has to have radical in front of it. Okay.
Yeah.
I think
like,
we also need to come up with like more contemporary examples as well, because obviously white privilege does come from like historically as well, but
yeah.
there's also some privileges that people still have. I don't know right now. For example, a black person being stopped and searched is something that won't really happen to a white person, not as much anyway.
Yeah.
An Asian person being stopped at the airport. Like, Kyle, did you go to Prague with us?
Yeah.
You did. I got stopped at the
Yeah.
airport.
Oh shit.
Oh my god, I
And
remember
Prague.
that.
On
Yeah.
the way back, they stopped me for a random drug test, and I was like, "What the actual fuck is going on here?"
Yeah, I
And
do remember that. I was like, what?
I don't know if you remember, but in Prague, I was called the P word.
Wait, by someone in Prague, like random
Oh,
tourists?
Yeah, we
right.
were out on a bar crawl or something, and someone came up to my face and said the P word. And I can't
Oh.
remember who I was with at the time, but no one defended me. No one. Instead, everyone was just like, Faza, calm down. Faza, leave it. I was like, what the fuck's sake? What are you
Why does
telling me
that sound
to
like
leave it?
Imogen? Like that phrasing right there.
Well,
Man.
actually, Imogen wasn't with me. I can't remember who I was with, but I was with one of the guys, chatting to one of the guys, and then he just come up, and then everyone just kind of told me to leave it. No one was actually like, no one actually stood up for me and went, no, that's
Yeah.
not okay, or kind of told him to F off or whatever. But I was like, what? So yeah, that happened in Prague. It's just that we need to come up with more contemporary examples of the things that,
Yeah.
like, the discrepancies between the experiences of white people and
Yeah.
people of color and black people. Because I feel like if we talk too much about history, you might lose some people because they're like, oh well, that's relevant relative to
Yeah.
today.
They want like context even.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'll give you an example of now. Oh, I'm trying to think.
I think the more personal, the better. People relate to things like personal experiences, and I think that's the best way to pull heartstrings. And if you can tell a story with it as well, that people buy stories. So I feel like that could be one way.
Go on, Kyle. I was thinking about.
No, I actually no. It's I think I told you about this Tawonga because it was when I went to the butchers in near the Leicester Market. Like I didn't think of it too much at the time. I actually didn't think of it. I was like, okay, cool. This is weird. I'm gonna leave. But went to the butchers, like those local ones. Got the meat chose. Was like, yeah, it's this, and it's like he tried like 5 different Asian greetings, like ni hao, like all the different ones, and I'm like, it didn't click until the third one. I was like, oh, I get what he's trying to do. And then I just told, it was like, oh, it's actually this one. Told him, paid, and then it was like, carry on my day. But it's one of those like, nope, not even gonna.
Do you guys think those people represent mindsets of, I don't know, whatever culture that they belong to? Like, of course, like there's definitely like a lot of weight that should be put on individual stories and experiences, and obviously it doesn't diminish. I'm not trying to diminish those experiences, but like, does having those, very valid experiences, obviously, but does that make like the conclusions about it true?
I'd say, like when you say about like context, I'd say like it helps put like your points into context for white people. Yeah, because I'm gonna say white people. It's because I'm not sure.
What do you mean? What do you mean by that?
It helps put your point into context because it's like if you just say it's like, oh yeah, historically, what people have done this to our countries, etc., etc. That's what it sounds like to them, etc., etc. Whereas if you like also provide like, oh, this happened to me the other week, it helps put it into like one historic, like for them, like a time-based context. So it's like, oh my days, this literally just happened days ago in this society. For them, I'd say it makes it more real.
So like,
they're like,
go on.
He's like, oh damn, like it's not something that this has happened and like this happens like this literally happened like a few days ago or like this happened this morning. Like it puts it into like more realism, more context for them.
All right. So I was just telling Kyle that I read. Not that I read. I don't think I read. I think I was watching a debate or something. But someone brought up a point that yes, like you've had these experiences.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, like the police stopped and searched you. Some woman called you a racial slur. But like, does having that valid lived experience make your conclusion about does it make your conclusion of that experience true, or does that make sense?
Yeah, I get what you're trying to say. Like how you feel, does that translate what actually happened?
Yeah.
But what about that? Like, what is that? Is that a criticism to something? What
Um,
would that point actually make?
Sure.
Kyle, can you explain it? Because I feel like
So I was saying to Tawonga that like if like when you're having this talk with a white person that doesn't understand that historically they are privileged, right? It's by not because to them it'll just sound like oh yeah white people oppress your people etc etc. Like to them it just sounds like an etc etc. Not saying it's okay because it's just like some people need literal context. So like you explaining a story. I don't want to do this with my hands. I really like doing this with my hands. That's all.
Oh
But
no,
like
don't worry.
you like explaining it's like oh my god this thing that happened to me 3 days ago in this place it kind of provides like it's like oh my days this is happening still like now in this time and like
Yeah.
this could the only difference that happened to me this like it provides them like that context of like this the only reason this hasn't happened to me is because I'm not in this press group like
Yeah.
it provides like hero context and like
Mm.
yeah
I think as well, like some people are just so far fetched from reality that not reality, but like they've never had to mix with an ethnic minority before. They've never had to mix with a person of color before. They live in an area where there isn't really that many black people or Asian people or brown people or just people like of color from different ethnic backgrounds, and then
what does that do?
that can like it can narrow your mindset and it can and you because you're not really in that space, you're not really going to be able to, I guess, maybe recognize the issues or really empathize with it as much. Like for example, Leicester is a massively diverse city, so is Birmingham, and
yeah
I'm sure we can both say, I mean, I did my masters in Birmingham and I went to Leicester Uni. I'm sure we can both say that there were a lot of people that we'd studied with that had never been to a place like Leicester or Birmingham before in their lives.
oh
And
yeah
I can definitely say there were people I knew at uni in Leicester that were like that. And Birmingham was a red brick uni, for goodness sake. So Birmingham was just filled with people from down south. And like, I went to a couple of socials. I didn't go to that many because I lived at home for my masters with my family, and like I didn't move out for it, so I didn't really want to go out and like drink and go to socials that much because I wasn't really there for that. I was like genuinely really passionate about my topic that I was studying, so I just really wanted to go and do my masters really. But I did go to a few socials with the dodgeball lot, and I just remember we were chatting and everyone was like, yeah, Birmingham's a shithole. And I was like, I wonder why you think it's a shithole. Is it a shithole because they were like, oh, it's dirty, like parts of town, dirty, rough. It's like areas are rough in Birmingham. And it's like, and like the whole concept of like urban, like they're associating that with the fact that there's more ethnic minorities in Birmingham. That can sometimes have an impact.
Yeah, it can definitely have an impact. I don't know what I was. I think you guys do understand my point. Because I think it was something like, so for example, like if you get attacked by a man, and obviously that's a painful experience, and those feelings are real and valid, but does that mean every man is a violent person? That's the point I was trying to get across. But I think you guys.
I get what you're saying. I get what you mean. So you're saying like, so what you're saying is, are all white people complicit? Are all white people?
Yeah, because that's what privilege implies, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess there's different ways. I think there's people that are privileged without them knowing, without them understanding, because that's the whole point of privilege. Like privilege can work with you knowingly or without you knowing. That's the way privilege sort of works. It's family you're brought up in. It's your like status. It's your class and everything, and that's just the way privilege works. So I get what you're saying. Not all white people are to blame for sure.
yeah
But I think all white people do have a responsibility to stand up against this. It's everyone's problem. It's not just like like going back to the point that I was saying before. It's not the responsibility doesn't lie on Black people and people of color to eradicate racism. It's everyone, and especially the oppressors, so the white people. So that's what I think, anyway.
I got a going back to the like when you said like a Russian dude, it's like, oh no, we're not technically yeah, we say white, like just the sole fact of being white affords you the privilege that comes with it. But would you say that because historically, look, not every single predominantly white country had something to do with slavery.
Oh yeah.
Like there are like I'm not sure about Russia. Like I was gonna immediately think Russia, but like I was thinking like maybe Greenland, Iceland, like Scandinavian countries that had their own shit. Trust me.
Yeah.
So like, because then some people was like, oh yeah, I'm not part of that. Like my country, like historically, I didn't do I wasn't part of that. So like, would you say so? In line with like, I think at one point it's like, do you think like would it be fair to like all white people because naturally due to privilege, the sole fact of being white, do have a responsibility to eradicate racism and I think just provide a better like a more equal playing field for everyone in this game that we call life. But would you say that's like because it's an immediate rush like, oh yeah, like white, like every single white person was oppressed, like you all oppressed us historically, or would you say that it's a bit of like historical like context? It's like okay.
Good question. That's a good point. I mean, obviously the British Empire screwed so many people over.
Oh yeah.
Over.
Yeah.
But,
even Americans.
Yeah, but Europeans have their own history as well, I think, which probably we're not that clued up on. But you had the Portuguese, they colonized a lot of places as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Like French and Algeria, that's a massive one.
Yeah.
So obviously they have their own history, and I think some people will go, well, I'm not British, like, fair enough. But I still feel like, I don't know, but I still feel like all white people have some sort of responsibility because like the deeper you go into Europe, the worse the racism gets. Like you've got where is it? Is it Netherlands or I can't remember where they still celebrate blackface?
Wait, yeah. Is it blackface or is it a character?
It's not called blackface. What's the festival called?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, they still celebrate that.
Yeah.
So like, and and the stories just get worse and worse. It's like a traditional thing that they celebrate. They paint their faces black, and then all kids like laugh at it, and like it's a bit of fun. But the whole history behind that story was that black person that they all laughed at was like a slave or something.
Oh man.
I think so. I read into it during like June and all the Black Lives Matter stuff was going on. I was like, right, I need to like be more aware. And then I saw a lot of stuff posted about that, and then I read up on it. So I think it's something to do with that. And I think he was a clown, not a clown, but like he was like, he used to make people laugh, but he was the only black person there because he was a slave, like a predecessor of the slave or something. And they all laughed at him, and then that's how the sort of tradition came out. They just started like painting themselves to celebrate him, but they didn't realize how racist that is because you just paint yourself black. Like it should just become like a tradition in that country. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I should be offended or not.
Yeah, it's just silly. I watched a video on it as well, and I was just like, what? Like they're like fully like proper go all out on it. Like everyone like puts makeup on and everything and dresses like him, and I'm like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I think it gets worse in some parts of Europe, like France, for example. Black people, like the shit that black people go through in France, like, and they don't even recognize race. Like they don't even. So you know how in the UK we collect data on ethnicity, and we have like we show like that pay gap between different races, and we show like educational achievement between different ethnicities and like income and all this. In France, it's illegal to collect that information because everyone's French. So here you have British, Pakistani, British, Bangladeshi, British, Afro-Caribbean, British, British Caribbean, British African. You have all these categories, and we collect data on it. In France, it's illegal to do that, and everyone's French. Their justification of that is like, you know, everyone's French, so there won't be any inequalities because everybody's French. But I think they're just neglecting inequality. And there has been reports,
like color blindness.
There's been reports of a lot of black people experiencing a lot of racism in France.
Yeah, for sure.
It's worsened by the fact that they don't even recognize race.
Yeah, it sounds like the colorblind approach taken to like the what's this the
exactly I don't see color, I don't see black. So yeah, like that, the point that I was trying to make with all that is, yeah, like we're probably more clued up on the history of like British Empire and stuff, and we probably might not understand, for example, if that person, but well, I'm not white, or I'm not British, I'm Russian, blah blah. It's like, but Europe has its own history with race as well. So yeah, those were just some examples I gave. So
yeah, those were good points as well. I think part of it is like language. I think language may be creating like unnecessary barriers. If that makes sense. Like it may be creating unnecessary barriers that are preventing us from having a constructive, productive conversation about race.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you do point out someone's privilege, for example, like Ka was saying, it's gonna immediately put them on a defensive, right? It's like, what privilege do I have? Like, I live in a working class home.
Yeah.
You know, like, or I've been living by myself since I was a kid. My mom is maybe, I don't know, a drug addict or whatever. You know, like people have different circumstances. So when you come up to them and you're like, oh yeah, you're privileged, this and that, and then they're kind of confused, like what like where is this privilege so I can actually use it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's like there's I'm guessing there's levels of privilege then, you know, because I'm guessing like even us, like the three of us, even we have privileges, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like we don't wake up to the sound of bombs outside, do it?
Exactly.
Yeah. So like that's our privilege as well.
And we're educated as well.
We're educated, and we've got the internet, and we can educated means we can read as well, right? So we have access to a lot of information.
Yeah, like even the simple right of like having access to water. Oh yeah, this is water.
Dude, I don't have to walk. I don't have to walk miles to get water. I'm so privileged. I actually buy water.
I like your cup,
ridiculous.
Is that the god?
That's ridiculous. I buy water.
Yeah, like you just paying for the container, literally.
But you know, it's natural mineral water, and it's 100% recycled plastic bottle. So, so yeah.
I guess the way we have to approach the conversation is instead of looking for someone to blame, I think it should be a conversation about unity, about coming together, about collectivity, instead of it being a conversation about blaming a certain group of people.
Yes.
So I think there's nothing to be achieved like that. I think we all just need to come together and accept responsibility, because obviously racism is an issue, but we also have to understand, and some people might disagree with me, but we also have to understand the other side of that, where you do have some people on the within people of color and ethnic minority that don't want to engage because they're like, oh, that white people aren't going to listen to us. I don't blame them. But you do have that factor as well. You do have that side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So I feel like
one's a Tory, right?
Exactly. So yeah, you do have that side of the spectrum as well, and for them, it's very hard for them to engage them in and be like, guys, actually no, like not all white people are like that, and blah 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 blah. So I feel like we just need to all come together and just hear each other out, and that might be one way, I guess. I mean, it's hard. Like it's really hard. It's gonna be difficult. I don't think we're gonna ever remove racism overnight like that.
We're not, because it's like murder, right? We can reduce the amount of people that are murdering. We can make laws against it, and we can what's this? We can share murderers. We can punish murderers, but people are still gonna kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely about to say something controversial.
Go on.
It's okay. You're not an asshole.
So it's on the topic on. So in the concept of like, obviously, we should definitely be having these talks, but it's, I don't know. There must be. I'd say that it's also like a point that you shouldn't like just focus on. It's like, because yeah, we want a president and want people want to be accountable to it, but we shouldn't just focus like solely. It's like no, because it's kind of like making like the murder. It's like admit. It's like yeah, admit that you murdered. Admit this, but like sometimes just the legal system, sometimes societally, like a lot of people aren't going to budge quickly or like budge fast, right?
Yep.
So it's like, and again, it's kind of like passive because you're waiting for the reaction, you're waiting for them to do things. But like I don't know, like there obviously comes a tipping point where it's just like, okay, you just need to like, okay, you've said your piece, like you've done your piece, like you've tried to make your way. At some point, it's just you just want to focus on your like withdraw, and then I don't know, enable yourself to be in a position to one, not be oppressed, and two, be able to set oppression. So like instead of always focusing for like trying to get the blame, trying to get like a confession effect, like a murder, like focus on moving to a position, like going up to a position where you can make a difference in these discussions.
Yes.
Some people, like, sometimes you just don't get like some people are rock. They're just rocks. You're not gonna budge through them.
I think with these, you just have to know your boundaries and your limits. Like you're not gonna change everybody else's minds.
Yeah.
Not everyone's gonna agree with you. You're not gonna please everyone. And I think there's just a boundary that you have to draw. Like what, like in terms of what is the tangible difference that you can make? Because I feel like. So I have this like, yeah, I'm going to change everyone's minds. Like, we're going to make this world a great place. And some people you just can't get to. You just can't. You hit them with the facts, and they just won't believe it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And I think that's when you just have to like walk away and look after yourself and just think like, you did the best you could. There's some people that aren't going to change.
Okay. Like just before we finish this, because we've gone longer than I actually planned on, but it's been a really good conversation. But yeah, I totally agree with that. You can't really change everyone's mind. If they're like, I don't know, 80 or whatever, old enough to remember the times where like calling someone an N-word was like just casual and shit. Then it's like whatever, just let them be. Like we can't change them. Let's focus on the people that are actually coming into.
And it's not even. It's not your responsibility.
People who are in university, like let's just focus on creating people who actually want a better future as well, right? So like just before we go, we've only got like 2 minutes left, and I've got work tomorrow morning. So I want to end this on a more happy point. Even though we agree, like we all need to like have more of an open conversation and be more empathetic to the other side, because of course, like we've been told or we've learned about things that may put the other side in a different light than we are informed about or educated about. I wish we had more time to talk about the education system, like you were talking about, Faiza. But we've got 2 minutes left. So I want each of you, starting with Kyle, just tell me at least one or two things that bring you joy, or something that you've been doing during lockdown that's like just been putting a smile on your face?
Fire's gonna go first because I have no idea.
Kyle's finding out to think you're not joyful.
Did I put you
No,
on the
I'm joking.
spot?
I'd say like music, cooking with my family, being able to spend some quality time with my family. Actually, that's been nice. Like, don't get me wrong. Sometimes we just wanted to rip each other's heads off, but you know, it's been nice. It's been cute. My sister's become the little chef in the house. She's like cooking new things all the time. So you know, cooking, music, exercise as well. I go out for like walks and stuff. So
Cool.
yeah, that's been my highlight so far.
Wow, that's more than two things that put a smile on your face, which is great, of course. Kyle?
I was gonna say just generally like more time to myself, because like, okay, not when I'm back home, but like when I was in Oxford, like during the second lockdown, like I was bonding more with my flat, who I didn't originally used to get along with. So like we started like doing meat-free Mondays, and like this times I cook more. I started exploring my culture more. I started cooking more Filipino food.
Oh,
Nice.
Yeah, it turns out there's a lot, and it's like I was asking my mom for recipes and stuff. Like,
Filipino food bangs. Like one of my mum's close friends, they're Filipino. My gran is also Filipino, so like, yeah, Filipino food bangs.
It's nice. I'm just like make it myself. Because I generally love food in general. I am basically a foodie. Like cooking and eating it. It's like me cooking more Filipino food. Just me cooking food in general. It's been kind of nice. Like I get to spend that time. Like I'm trying to get into sourdough baking, but I just can't be arsed. Like I've got the starter and everything. I've been nurturing that like my child, but I'm just lazy. But yeah, I think it's just like food, and like it's helping me explore my culture a bit more.
Oh, that's really sweet though.
Yeah, that's epic. That's nice.
What about you, Tawonga?
We don't have time for that, so
No.
That's unfair. The host has to share too.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I've also been enjoying cooking. Like that's the one thing that I've also started really getting into. Also, just learning music as well. I've been learning the guitar.
Oh, sick.
Unfortunately, one of the strings is messing up, so I need to get that fixed.
Wait. Which one? What? This snap off, or is it just not tuned?
It's I think it's become impossible for me to tune it properly, basically.
Well, you've got all the time in the world, so
yeah. Also drawing and just making art. I just like if I don't draw, I get depressed, and yeah, so like that, like just doing that. And yeah, I mean, I can't keep saying a different thing on every podcast. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot here, innit? Like I shouldn't have made this a theme of the podcast, but you know what? It's great.
Yeah. Sorry, Congo, don't fret. You'll find
more things to bring me joy.
And it exists.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. I just really miss the gym. That's what I miss the most.
I miss gym.
Me too.
Oh my days.
I miss gym so much.
I
miss choking people.
I think this is the worst time as well, because if it was summer, at least you could go out for like runs and stuff. But like, in this weather, it's so frosty, and then the last 2 days it's been snowing. It's like it's not really good weather to like go out and exercise.
Oh, yeah.
I've been exercising in my bedroom pretty much, just like every morning, just wake up, exercise.
Yeah, I can't. Like my bedroom is like a little box. I don't have space. I need to move out.
I'm gonna say it's more of a like I don't fit into the house anymore. Like if there's space at all.
Yeah, I don't have space in our home. And it's too cold to be outside in the back garden, or like it's too slippy. Like usually go to the park near me, but it can be too slippy sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the end of the podcast, guys.
Yeah.
I enjoyed talking to you guys. This was
enjoyed talking to you guys too. Nice to catch up with you, Kyle. I feel like I haven't seen you.
Yeah, right. We should talk.
I know, we should stay in touch.